Namaste. So we'll talk about immortality. So immortality, when we talk about immortality, we think of immortality of the body. And therefore people raise many questions like, we see people dying, so where is immortality? People even talk about it in terms of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Though they have said very clearly that physical immortality is the last event that will take place. Because the outer being, the surface consciousness, will be the last to change. That's why manipulating the outer nature without an inner change is a deception. People try to indulge into that. They want to look young for a long time. They believe that they are physically, they'll become immortal by doing some jadi buti sevan. But the real immortality, that's how the Asura tries. Asura tries to gain immortality by manipulating the outer events, by outer conditions through which death can come. And Sri Aurobindo says, whatever you may do, death will find its door because it serves a purpose. Death and life serve a common purpose in human beings, and that purpose is evolution and progress. A day must come and will come when we will no more need to die. So here we have to understand death in the largest sense of the word. It's not just death of the physical body, but our personality. It changes, you see, when we look back at ourselves. We can't sometimes recognize who we are or who we were. And we have gone past, though sometimes parents are stuck with the child because of bada sweet tha. Lekin child has, gone further. So this personality changes, it evolves. So the first layer is the physical. It's the outermost. And that's not the real man. It's just a bundle of habits, manners, sensations, conditioning. We mistake it for the real man, but it's not the real man. The real man is inside, what goes on inside our inner being in terms of thoughts, hopes, aspirations, our strengths, our weaknesses, as they say, the attitudes. All these things constitute the inner being, the impulses, the will, which is secret inside. So all this is the inner being. Now inner being is constantly shaped, not so much by outer forces, but by outer and inner cosmic forces. Outer being is largely shaped by outer forces and the force of heredity. But the inner being is shaped because the inner being is open to the cosmos. It's shaped by the godlike influences, titanic influences, and by the companions and, something from the soul within and something from the outer things. So this inner being is the second layer, and that is what is called as the personality. And the third, the inmost, is the soul of man. So these are the three layers on which we exist. All of us exist. In some people, the outer is the one of which they are mostly conscious of, and little bit of their personality and nil about the soul. And in some others, it is the reverse. They are fully conscious of their soul. And then from that, they understand their personality, see its changing flux and pattern. And of the outer being, they don't much care. Like Swami Vivekananda saying that when he left his body, he said, I have spat my body. And Swami Ramtirth, when he was asked in he gave a talk on soul, and somebody asked him that, Swamiji, what do you mean? You have a soul? He said, no, I didn't say I have a soul. People are all astonished. He said, I am a soul and I have a body. It is a complete reversal which Mother speaks about. So now when we speak about immortality, we have to understand the first immortality is the immortality of the soul. Soul by its nature is immortal. It may pass through many, layers of experiences, lives. It may pass through fire or grave, but it always returns back. I am not right now going into, we have had a whole talk on soul and its significance where I have talked about scientifically and intellectually how to understand the soul, whether it exists or not exists. So I am not going into that. But we can say this much, that if you today, even from the purely point of view of physical science, we say that two things are never lost. Matter you can't destroy even matter. You can convert it into energy. But along with energy, there is information. These are things which they don't get lost. They continue to exist in some state. So whatever it be, the soul immortality, realizing the soul, experiencing the soul, identifying with the soul is the first immortality. When one has experienced the soul, as one is experiencing the body, when one is identified with the soul, knows it as a fact, then fear of death passes away because one knows there is no death. And one knows that it's just a passage. Death is a stair, a stumbling stride. The soul must take in its journey. So one is no more afraid of death. This is one thing which comes very clearly. It doesn't matter that whether one lives or dies. So it doesn't mean one wishes for death. One knows there is no death. But it doesn't matter whether one is here on the physical plane or withdraws. So first immortality is the immortality of the soul, which both Mother and Sri Aurobindo and in the ancient mystic literature we see that they insist that we must discover it. And it's well within our reach. It's the divinity within our reach. And frankly, to die without discovering the soul is the only tragedy of life. Because that means we didn't discover the real Hiramoti inside us. So the first thing is to discover the soul, and we discover that we are immortal. Now, what about, we hear about the 5 immortals in our Indian thought. We hear about Hanuman, Sugriva, Ashwatthama and all those beings. So the second immortality which the Vedic rishis tried was the immortality of the personality. Can our personality, the inner being, become immortal? Now, one of the ways is that it fuses with one of the immortals. So there are beings on higher worlds, and if it can fuse with one of those beings, it can become immortal. So if one does it in the inner being, one remains immortal. That means there is a conscious personality, not just the soul. And that personality can act upon the world, even guide its events. So that's how it is said that Hanuman is immortal. We have Narada. Narada is a mortal being who becomes immortal by his bhakti for Vishnu. So he starts dwelling on one of the higher planes of consciousness. So he becomes a demigod. The mother spoke about Champaklalji once, that Champaklal, you have become a demigod. Because one ascends to the higher planes where there is no death. So death is characteristically found in worlds of matter, and in the life worlds there is no death, but there can be dissolution. In the worlds of mind there is no death, but dissolution. But we are not conscious in these worlds. But supposing we ascend further, beyond the human mind, ascend to one of those high planes, and we are conscious, then we remain as practically immortal. Those planes, we leave our bodies or we leave our personality only when that plane dissolves. That means a whole cosmic cycle. So for a whole cycle, we are conscious and we are acting upon the world. It doesn't matter whether people realize it or not, know you or not, recognize or not. And we know that mothers own some of the children, Pavitrada, Amritada, and many others, Dilip Kumar Roy, how they've realized that kind of immortality. They continue to exist on other planes and continue to help mankind. Now, in that there is another possibility. One is that we ascend to a higher plane, and we don't fuse or merge, but we continue to exist, either united with one of the beings, one of the lines of consciousness, and therefore we are one with that and continue to stay there. Or there is another possibility that we organize everything of ours around the soul principle. Then it becomes a conscious psychic being. So that is also possible, that everything in life which we have given to the ego will be destroyed. And everything in life, every energy we have given to the soul and its, the Lord, the Divine, that will get merged with the soul, and there is something called as a soul personality, which is the psychic being. And so there is another kind of immortality, which is the immortality of the psychic being, and the psychic being uniting with one of the lines of the gods or dwelling upon a higher plane of consciousness, and till the particular kalp or the yuga or the cycle, Chatur Yuga, it will continue to stay there. After that, it is a choice, either to merge or to come back. So these two kinds of immortality are already been achieved. Not only now, it has been achieved in the Vedic times. In fact, there is a consciousness of immortality with which these higher beings can unite. And then in the Vedic cycle, what they were trying to bring this consciousness of immortality right into the physical consciousness. That's where their effort stopped, because you can't do it individually. It has to be done collectively. So now that is the third kind of work which Mother and Sri Aurobindo have undertaken. And they've seen that this consciousness of immortality cannot really come down. It can come to the consciousness level, but it cannot transform the body. For that you need the supramental truth consciousness. And so the whole principle is that to let this higher supramental truth consciousness come down and work upon the body and make the physical body also immortal. Of course, the immortal physical body will not be like this. It is like the transmuted chimpanzee body loses many things. When the chimpanzee becomes human, it loses many things and gains many things, inwardly and internally and outwardly. Now, this transmutation will be far greater. So the body will develop new possibilities. Like the mother says, it will become luminous. Because the substance will become luminous. So nice, you don't have to worry about power shutdown, back up all the time. Because the self-slight will be there. And it will become plastic. Means it will be adaptable. Right now, because of the bones, we are very rigid. So it will become plastic. And then it also will develop a spontaneous immunity against all kinds of diseases. And of course, it will be a body which will be deathless body. So these are the attributes of the supramental body. So that is the last thing which will happen. So now we have three immortalities. One is to discover the immortality of the soul. Second is the immortality of the personality of the inner being. And third is the immortality of the physical body. The immortality of the physical body, both Sri Aurobindo and the mother spoke about a couple of thousand of years. They never said that, you will see it in my lifetime. Very clearly, they are clear letters. In fact, Sri Aurobindo discouraged talking about physical immortality. He said it is the crown of the last bit of the yoga. Otherwise, people started expecting that nobody will die physically. And when there was first death in the ashram, it shocked people. You see, even Pranab Das reminiscences, and he says, he came here thinking that nobody will die. Amrita said, but we thought we will not die. So, it is because of these beings who were already aspiring for physical immortality. They were great beings. They had realized the immortality of the soul. They had realized the inner being. So, they were right into that. So, the mother took up the yoga of the cells very, very prematurely. It was not needed. It was enough to have these supramental manifestations going, which over another few thousand years will create an immortal body. But because they were so much, see how much he values one aspiration. One of the conversations he says very passingly, but look at the compassion. She says, it's a very painful process which I am doing. Because she compressed. See, another 1,000 years, the human body is going to evolve. It will become more and more ready. But she took it soon after, 57, 58 onwards, and 62 onwards, completely she went into this work. So she says it's a very difficult, very painful thing. I don't want anybody to do it. I just want to gift it to those who are, who receive it, who are ready and receptive. So the disciple asked the mother, then why are you doing it? She says, you know what, I don't want to disappoint them. Who are they? She speaks about Amrita, one of them. She says, they, Amrita, Pranab, they expect this. Now just imagine, there must be a handful of people who would have had this aspiration. And the Divine Mother says, okay, let me do to the extreme limits that I have. I can take it. So it was an act of her compassion and grace, all the yoga of the cells. And that's why she said that it is not so much necessary to publish it. You can do it after 30 years, 50 years. People won't understand it. Because it was far premature and something which was to be undertaken much later. So this is the context. So physical immortality will happen. But please hold the horses, wait for a few centuries. And until then, at least realize the soul, become conscious of the soul and realize the immortality of the inner being. And then, because now the supramental manifestation is taking place, and gratitude to the mother for the enormous work she has done on the cells, see as far as the yoga can go right into matter. So these are the three things given to us, and then we have to just wait for the whole process to unfold. All right? Namaste.